But hang on, Hey!
Good morning. Thanks for standing. Let's go ahead and have a seat.
Okay, we'll do that.
I wanted to set a reminder that on October 4th, UT will be visiting, and so we'll be able to change out this photo. If you want to be here for that photo opportunity, it's October 4th, that Friday meeting. So put that on your calendar, and I'll send out some continuous reminders. But look out for that.
Wear your school picture clothes.
Yeah. So go around the room here. And let's start with welcoming visiting Rotarians and guests.
I'm our speaker today, Emily Sheehy-WIlliams.
Good morning.
Talking about CASA.
Matt, here's a guest back there.
Well, actually, she's going to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Tasha Babbage. I'm the Vice President of North Bay Rotary.
I have Amanda Nelson, who I hope you've all seen her write-up that's been sent out. You know what to do. Not to do. Oh, not to do. Nothing. Good enough. Just delete it.
Do nothing. Read it, enjoy it, delete.
So I do need to acknowledge the tragic events of last week, and did want to take a moment to recognize the people who've lost their lives from the three communities of Gilroy, El Paso, and Dayton, Ohio. The families that were destroyed, and I guess acknowledge the heroes who made ultimate sacrifice to save their family members. I want to take a moment of silence to I guess acknowledge their memory. So please join me in a moment of silence. So moving on to some announcements. Let me first make note, don't forget to list your makeup. We have that sign-up sheet at the check-in, and what I'd like to do is start recognizing the folks who spend their extra time outside of these meetings. So right now we have Terry and Maggie in the lead at 4 instances of makeup. So I know that we participated in some activities that haven't made this list, but feel free to go back and add yourself so we can recognize the people who are making that extra effort to.
She's having lunch with Marty.
Yeah, she's going to need another makeup.
So thank you for that effort, and I'd love to see you live to 60 at the end of the year. So, Karen, would you like to talk about the gala preview?
It's coming up here. It's a preview of the fair. You get your seats and exhibits. You have a reception. It's kind of nice. You don't have to fight the crowd. Just
Thank you. And Chris, you have something
Well,
else?
talking about the fair, it's coming up. You know what we do on?
Oh, sure, he gets dressed up now.
I'm in trouble for last year. He's
gonna wear that jacket.
Started the meeting, then I had a couple guys show up all dressed up, I just couldn't play it cool.
And we're gonna follow you on before we have your.
So, this year, I'm gonna be there, looking good. Anyway, horse race time, 23rd, 3 p.m. to Friday. That's when the activities kind of really start for horse races. So, bring a chair, come hang out with some friends, plan to spend the afternoon, it's kind of casual, in and out, a good time. And if you stick around all the way till, I guess, 7 o'clock, you get to see E.T. He's going to be there too. So, anyway, see you at the fair, the 23rd.
August 23rd?
Friday.
Friday?
Yeah, it's Friday, August 23rd.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
When we get there.
3 o'clock.
Oh.
3 o'clock is first post.
Yeah, 3
First
o'clock.
post is 3 o'clock. Okay.
It's kind of
When's
early.
the first round?
What's that?
When's the first round?
Who's the first round?
Well, the bar's open pretty early there.
Thank you, Chris. Coincidentally, this will be the 3rd year that I enter in, or I have a team that enters in that surf and turf contest. So if you're on the 22nd and you want to make some barbecue, a great fair activity as well. And, essentially, you can show up and just get some free samples. It's a lot of fun. I think Guy Fieri is there. So, a reminder again, our fellowship at the Griffin on the 19th from 4 to 6, and each dollar spent on drinks will go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So, see you there, invite your fellow Rotarians, and have a good time. A reminder as well that the Kevin Ebert Memorial Trail Run is coming up on August 25th. That's an Arcadia Community Forest, and want to recognize the Memorial Run. And, Charlie's not here, but just something I guess that's personal as well, because one of our members lost one of hers. I put out an email yesterday about the summer patio party put on by the NEC, North Coast Environmental Center, and they're looking for volunteers. If you want to volunteer, it is their fundraiser, so.
It doesn't say anywhere on the write-up or on the website where it is.
It's a private residence.
That's all it says. How do we know where to go?
I think the volunteer sheet, once you sign up, they'll communicate that with you.
You just want to make sure it's not at your house.
Well, on my street, I don't know on my street. I want to be that grumpy old guy.
I already looked at the sign-up sheet. There's only 4 spots left out of the 6 that were left.
Okay.
If you're interested, get on there and sign up. We do have the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Out of Darkness Walk coming up as well. Romy, do you care to?
Yeah, I will get the invitation to everyone to join the team. And it's just a wonderful way to raise awareness and raise funds, and also just get the conversation going. It's something that obviously every community needs to talk about, but here, our community, our suicide rate is double the national and the state rate in Humboldt County. So it's an issue that affects our community, but more importantly, many of us, our lives very, very directly. And the more that we can, talk about it, the more that we can raise awareness, raise funds, raise education, and support the better services and incredibly invaluable service to our community, something we should all be part of, and I'll get an invitation to all of our team members really soon.
Don't forget to cry, because boys make more money when you cry at this stuff.
I cried every time. I just held it together for that little announcement, but you'll see tears, don't worry.
Thank you, Romy. And a reminder, I'm sure summer's winding down. Love to see what you guys did for the summer. I definitely had an amazing summer. I'd love to hear what you guys have been doing. Please send your photos to arcs.recognitions@gmail.com.
Can I add something quick? If you don't send things, I'm going to make stuff up. So.
Yeah, so, see some pictures.
It won't be good.
That's right.
So, I think there's Andreas to talk about change management.
Here's my cheese very well.
Wait till the calendar. Change for the better. Right, to count and then. All jokes.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
All right, hello everybody. So at the Comboard Conference, Rotary International Conference this year, I went to go see this presentation, which I enjoyed, and I was telling AJ about it, and he thought that I might enjoy it as well. He was thinking that this would be a good conversation starter for the club to talk about some ideas. So I'm not talking about those ideas, I'm just talking about, I'll just be re-giving the presentation that we saw there. So Rotary has 1.2 million members, and a lot of you probably know that because it's been the same number for 10 years. And so there's a recruitment push within Rotary, has been for a long time. And this is really good. That's better. Okay. So basically, and this is something we talked about here, it's not a recruitment problem, it's a retention problem. And so the Karen who gave this presentation, the speaker, she goes into basically how Rotary's had to change with the times and open norms have had to change with the times as well. And so, back in 1905 when Rotary was established, here's a picture of Chicago. You can see very formal dress, kind of horse and buggy, and probably pretty patriarchal. Our logos have changed over time. Okay. Logos have changed over time. So comparing 1905 to 1950, still pretty formal dress, but you can see it's different. It's a different look and feel. Obviously, the city itself has changed quite a bit. And now we're in today. So today we have a lot of diversity. We have connectedness all the time. We have digital. It's a different world. And so I'm not sure what all of these slides were about. So just new logo. So I guess we're just trying to update, Rotary International is trying to update their image and be more with the times. So we've talked a little bit about this in the past in terms of the people of action. And these are sort of the 6 action verbs and things that they're trying to push. And they've thought a lot about what these mean and where they come from. But they're also thinking a lot about millennials. And so the way the speaker talked about this is she said kind of the baby boomers and the generation before them, you know, they were kind of the ones that sort of started Rotary, got it really built up, at least in the U.S. And you know, then they just sort of went on coast mode, and they weren't doing a lot of recruitment. And she called my generation Generation X. She called it the skip generation, the missing generation, because they were just busy doing their thing, and they kind of didn't do a lot of recruitment. And now it's like, oh, we need to get updated. We need to really get engaged and get the millennials starting to feed into the club. And so these are the things that the millennials are interested in joining Rotary for, what they want to get out of it. Millennials are tech savvy, they're connected, they're team oriented, and they're looking for collaboration, connectivity, transparency, variance, and diversity. Those all sound like pretty darn good things for Rotary. So they also live in a personalized world. So, you know, everything from how they listen to music to where they decide to go to get, you know, eat at a restaurant. It's all personalized to them. So they're used to a different world and a different way of doing things than a lot of us are. So one of the things that the speaker talked about is that the clubs, basically when you join Rotary, that's when you sort of get into a Rotary identity and your cultural norms for Rotary. And sometimes with those, you know, they kind of stick with when you started, and you can have a little bit of a range. And if you're wanting to attract this new generation of millennials, we need to think about how to shape them, basically. All right. So this is what she was recommending for kind of 21st century clubs. I don't know if this was just one speaker or this is something from Rotary International, but deliver the brand, that's definitely something from Rotary International. Trying to build connections, engage members, change things up, be less formal communities, create opportunities. So some examples she was giving is that the millennials are often more family oriented. And so they would actually like to see maybe a weekend meeting where they can invite their family to come, or a weekend event. So it's not just Rotary members, but inclusive, more inclusive of family. Change things up. She was saying, don't always have the same meeting format every week with an invited speaker. Maybe once a month, forego the invited speaker and have a discussion amongst the group on a topic, or have a meeting, you know, on a weekend or in the evening or at a local pub or something like that. Just mix it up a little bit. I don't know if this is an issue for us, but she was saying that the millennials from the career advancement, they want to get mentorship and get leadership positions to learn quickly the leadership skills and for their career advancement. So the speaker was giving an example of a lot of clubs, you know, it's like first, before you can be president, first you have to be committee chair for a couple of years, and then committee chair, then you have to be on the board for a couple of years, and then, you know, by the time you can actually be the president, you're multiple years out. You're old, right? And, you know, millennials they don't want to wait around for that. And so I don't know if you guys saw the last, the current August Rotary magazine, but they have some interesting profiles in there. They have this one of Carl Mitchell. He's in his mid-30s.
You read that?
It was really interesting, and it goes along with this. I mean, he basically, he didn't think much of Rotary. He really had a stereotypical image of who Rotary is. And then he met some Rotarians basically the district governor at a pub somewhere, and he basically said, oh, you really need to join Rotary. And so he went to a local meeting, his second meeting, before he was even a Rotarian. They said, you should be president. And he became president of that club. And then after the year of presidency, then he went on to become district governor. And then he ultimately, he started his own club. And he basically says the new club meets twice a month in a pub with a second floor art gallery and rotates happy hours at different establishments each month. And they do a whole lot of hands-on service work. And I like what he said. You know, he was talking about his, people thought he might be a little inexperienced to lead the Rotary Club, and he basically said, well, you know, people need three things. They need to feel like they belong, they feel like they need to have a voice, and they need to feel like they can make a difference. And I thought that really kind of, if we can do those three things, we're doing good. All right. So, there's always naysayers. So change is hard, and so she talked about why change is hard, and really it comes down to fear of losing something of value, or that you're not going to be able to adopt in new ways. So she was talking about how people in clubs, even if they all agree that change is needed, they're still resistant to the change that they want. And it's because we're not logical beings. And so, you know, change, like anything, has several stages of acceptance, and knowledge alone has little impact on behavior. So just because you know you want change doesn't mean that it's going to happen. You can read that. So to help go about creating change, she had some recommendations and advice. One, she said, don't try to go alone and just push through your ideas, but enlist a group of trusted people, including the people that are going to be the naysayers, so that you can get there as a group. And that way you can start to build a case for change together. And you know, set goals and manage the inevitable conflicts. And so the alliance structures to support the change, she was given an example of somebody might say, oh, well, you can't be president because, you know, you haven't got the 2 years and the 2 years and the 2 years of time. We'll change your bylaws if that's in the bylaws, right? Make the bylaws support the change you want to see. So there'll always be some setbacks. So getting back on track, she basically just says step back and take a minute. Try to understand the other person's point of view, where they're coming from. Everybody here wants this club to be the best that it can be. Even the naysayers, we're all in this for the right reasons, and it's trying to find a path that's going to be the best for the club and in a way that supports it, really. And she was recommending always make a positive assumption. So, you know, whatever issue that somebody else is bringing up, they're speaking to it from an area of concern for the club, not just to be a stick. Share your perspective and listen actively. And so, to initiate the conversation, one of the questions that she said that she asks often is, help me understand your point of view. So when somebody brings up something, so it's not, you know, it's a conversation, and then you can hear more about what they're thinking. Gen Z is coming, and they're different from the millennials. So they are the first truly digital natives, and they are different. So I looked them up last night a little bit. Like millennials, they're technologically advanced, have affinity for electronic communications, absorb lots of information. They like to be independent and autonomous. They're hyper aware of politics and the environment. They avoid labels and like to self-organize. They're very competitive, and they like to live in a personalized, customized world. They're motivated by change. So again, another great generation to encourage me. So change is really the story of Rotary, and so it's a question of how do we continue to evolve, and it's a conversation. So at the end, Karen said that she's available for if people are running into questions or whatever, if people want to ask some advice. She's happy to talk to us. So that's it.
AJ, while you're changing that, I want to say something else and kind of piggyback on that, because that was pretty much about how Rotary clubs need to look at new members and retaining members. But I want to challenge each and every one of you to think about why you joined the club in the first place and how it looked when you joined. For some of you who are newer members, it looks pretty much the same. But for some of us who have been Rotarians for a long time, it looks pretty different. Each of us, let me back up a little bit. When we've done the firesides in the past, one of the main questions was that, how big should the club be? And you could almost tell when somebody joined how big they would say the club would be, because it was how big it was when they joined. Okay? It's not a static thing. I've been a Rotarian, I've been in this club, and before this club I was in the Belmont Rotary Club down in the Bay Area. It's a changing thing, and you need to adapt with it. So it's not just how the Rotary Club changes, it's how you change and how you adapt to things. And Andreas hit on the key thing here. We're all in this for the same reason. We're all in this to help the world, help our community, help the world. And when things aren't going quite like you might feel, is it just exactly what we're doing for? Change it up. Don't change it up. And I want to say one other thing. This is really important. When you come in here and you're all gangbusters, doing a lot of stuff, that's great. But our lives change. We have family things that come up. Don't be afraid to step back a little bit, but don't leave. Please don't leave. Please bring your talents, your enthusiasm, always to this club. It's a great club because of that. But you may have to just step back, and there are times when it's going to ebb and flow. So keep your good attitudes and stay sunrise right here.
So one thing that did excite me about Andrea's change management topic was through firesides and through other communications, Rotarians in this club have asked that I open up perhaps a dialogue around alternative types of membership. And I'm not sure if any of you are aware, but there are 4 additional types of membership that we can incorporate into our club. So I wanted to begin this dialogue just to see how open we would be to these types of alternative memberships. I don't necessarily need or want to have the dialogue right here, but feel free to email me or come to a board meeting and like to further discuss these opportunities so we can be more inclusive and open it up to perhaps some families who cannot make every meeting, or young professionals who can't quite afford the membership fee. So I wanted to touch on the first one, which is corporate membership. So it does allow nonprofit organizations or other for-profit organizations to have a rotation of their team member to come in and represent their corporation. They're still a member, the corporation is a member of the club, but the individuals don't get voting rights or their individual recognitions as a corporation. The logistics is fairly complex for this corporate membership when it comes to like Paul Harris and the minutia, but I feel like offering this to our community would give us an opportunity to welcome additional individuals who have an interest, the common interest in what we do in the community, but not necessarily have the time to commit to coming to every meeting, engaging in all of our events. But, something to consider. Any immediate thoughts on corporate memberships?
Love it.
Great, appreciate that. Well, I will explore this to the board, but feel free to send me feedback if you have any additional thoughts or concerns. So next, I'd like to welcome Emily Sheehy-WIlliams, our program today. I do have a brief intro. So Emily's moved to Humboldt County from Berkeley, California. In 2008, she entered the Child Development Program Agency. Since then, she's worked locally with at-risk youth for a little over a year. She has been a volunteer coordinator at CASA, also serving as a CASA volunteer for women, girls, and foster care. And in her free time, she enjoys walking her dog at the beach. Please welcome Emily Sheehy-WIlliams.
Thank you for having me. It's always wonderful to come and present to Rotary groups and see all of the people in the community who are spending their free time in this way by bettering our community. It's such a gift of working at CASA to sort of constantly be surrounded by volunteers who are dedicated to making our community a better place, and I see some of our volunteers here today, and of course our wonderful dependency judge is here, and we just adore her, so it's great to be here, and thank you so much for asking me to be here. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about CASA because people hear about it on the radio, people see our flyers, but then sometimes I have people come in for interviews, and even in the midst of their interview to sign up and be a CASA, they're not really sure what we do. So CASA is a nonprofit program in Eureka. We are just the Humboldt County branch of a national nonprofit that serves children in foster care by pairing them with an advocate from the community. So we have volunteers from all over Humboldt County who come to CASA and get trained to work with children who are in foster care. So that training looks like learning a little bit about how to work with kids who have been traumatized by abuse and neglect in their homes. And then also the training covers how to write a court report. So what we do is write court reports that sort of outline the experience of a child's journey through foster care. So our advocates come, they receive training, and then they're paired with one or sometimes two if there's a sibling group. In my case, 3. I have 3 little CASA kids. So they're paired with those children, and then they spend time with them. So our volunteers, what we ask for is a commitment of 1 to 2 hours a week. And they really just go out into the community or come over to CASA and spend time with that child. Going to the zoo, going to the park, building a relationship where ideally the child views them as an adult that they can trust and open up to, a stable person that they can look up to, hopefully have some role model of good behavior. And then the CASA just gets to connect with all of the adults in the child's life. So teachers, doctors, mental health clinicians, the foster parents, the social worker. We make contact with all of those people and make sure that everyone is on the same page. So a child who's having educational difficulties but is in a foster home with 5 other children may not really get the services that they really desperately need in their school. A CASA advocate can be checking in with the foster parents and the social worker and the teacher and make sure that, you know, an education plan is made. A child who's having behavioral issues, and again, you know, maybe they're in a group home and there's not a lot of services for them. Their CASA might be able to recognize some of those signs or, you know, be witnessing some of that behavior and really reach out to the social worker and make sure that mental health services are being provided. So we see it as like a safety net for children in foster care. They don't always have one stable adult who's sort of walking through that process with them. And in those cases, we see kids who don't get all the services that they need and they really kind of fall through the cracks of the system. And we just want to be sort of the putty under there catching them. I had the experience of training our volunteers over at CASA, so if any of you are interested in becoming a CASA advocate, I'll be your trainer. But also I was recruited as a CASA, so I am a CASA volunteer. I've worked with 3 girls, and they live in Arcata now. They're back with their mom, which is great. And I've been with them for a little over, well, almost a year and a half now, and just watched their progress from being in a foster home where they were just starting to kind of get comfortable and getting to, you know, take them out to the park for an hour, take them out to the mall to get an ice cream, whatever they wanted, and just build that relationship with them. And see them get into basketball, you know, get into school and just watch their world sort of expand, and getting to be a part of that process has been the most rewarding thing that I've done. So I really personally have a huge attachment to the CASA program at this point. And I haven't been, because they've been in such a good position, the advocacy work that I've been able to do has been more just around making sure, again, that they're safe all the time and that they were looking forward to and ready to be returned to their mom. So I just loved it. There's no special background that's necessary to become a CASA. People from all different backgrounds, education levels, lifestyles, come and are able to be our volunteers. We look for a commitment of about 1 year, and obviously there are cases that wrap up in less than a year, there are cases that go on for much more than a year, but that's sort of the time frame that we're looking at. The training is a 30-hour training. It's 15 hours in person and 15 hours online. And we offer continued education and then also supervision. So what we do really at the CASA office is, you know, supervising and guiding our volunteers so that, you know, we don't finish training and say, all right, you know, get out there and do the thing. We have supervisors who are there supporting our volunteers, making sure that they know of all the resources available in the community. If a volunteer has a rough day, somebody to vent to. And then they also take them to court, teach them how to, or go through the process of writing court reports together. So it's really a supported position as a volunteer, and we always hope that our volunteers feel really comfortable and confident in what they're doing. So we have kind of skipped over a little bit of information as far as, our county has a huge need for CASA. We have a lot of children in foster care. We're among the highest in the state as far as number of children per capita, and so we have a huge need here for advocates also. And it was really interesting to watch that presentation about retention and how do you get more people involved. CASA advocacy is really, really important, but it seems like everybody out in the community kind of already knows about it, and they've kind of already made their decision about whether they're going to get involved or not. So coming out to meetings like this and kind of trying to plant the seed of maybe not right now, but in the future, where we as a community want to spend our time. And I just, when we talk about the long-term benefits of a CASA, I look to early childhood mental health and the benefits of having one stable adult who is sort of walking through life with a child is just, it has an unbelievable effect. It's one of the main resiliency factors in children who are in foster care, but then also children in general. Children who have one person who's really looking out for them, who they always know they can turn to. It has such a positive impact on their education, on their mental health, on their physical health. So we really view it as an unbelievably important position. And I have a lot of people who come to me and say like, wow, a year of volunteer service is a lot, or that seems like a really big commitment. And my experience as a CASA has been that I kind of came into it feeling the same way. Like, what if I don't want to do this in a year? What if I want to get into some other type of volunteer service? And then I met these 3 beautiful children, and I'm just completely obsessed with them. Like, I don't ever want to know my life without them. So that 1 year of service has now, to me, hopefully will be a lifelong relationship that I get to maintain in one way or another. So it's so funny for me to now look back at that, 1 year of commitment, that seems rough, I ideally will know them, into their adulthood. So we do see that. We have great, I love that our little office is such a homey environment, and that our staff, some of our staff members have been there for 20 years. So we have kids who come back and they're adults now, and they have their own children, and they come by and let us know the impact that CASA had on their life. And we also have folks who come back and are not doing very well and still look to CASA as a resource. So I just really love that. To go into a little bit of detail about our funding, we are a nonprofit, and 80% of our budget comes from fundraising in the community. We have some major events every year, and we are always looking for volunteers to help us out. We have a big night dinner and auction, which is really fun to go to. And right now we're kicking off our CASA Kid Walk. And Kid Walk is a fundraising season from August to October, where community members, as individuals, families, friends, coworkers, service organizations, come together and they just fundraise in whatever way they want. So we really try and leave it up to individuals, and some teams raise $100, some teams raise tens of thousands of dollars. But it's really just about fundraising in any way that you want to. And then we come together for our walk and celebration on October 3rd this year. So even if you can't make a team or you don't want to make a team, you should definitely come out for our celebration, because it's just a great way to get involved and also just enjoy CASA as a program in Eureka. And we do have some other volunteer opportunities just in our office, in our smaller events, and once you kind of get on our radar, we'll just email you to to death. So if you're if you're interested in just picking up some small volunteer experience with us, just get on that email list. Well, now none of you are going to sign up for it because I just outed myself for how often you'll hear from me. But I just will end by saying that I've just loved being a CASA, and I really, really appreciate what all of you are doing here. Just to derail myself for a moment, watching that or hearing that this month you're focusing on suicide prevention. That was really the thing that switched my gears from just child development into sort of more social work, child development. Going to a speech from the Hoopah Warriors, which is a teen program in Hoopah that and listening to their staggering teen suicide rates in Hoopah. It was just in that one moment that I changed my career, and that was like 6 years ago. Just everything's different now. And so getting to serve kids in our community is just absolutely my passion, and we'll see some of you. So thanks for having me. Do we have any questions?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So the great thing about CASA is juvenile court is closed for the privacy and confidentiality of the confidentiality of the children mostly. And so, and everybody has attorneys, the kids have attorneys too. But CASA really is the voice of the community. They bring that in regards to those kind of things. And then what you find about the children in dependency court isn't so much that there aren't other children in other socioeconomic strands that are suffering the same things, but they already have natural supports. They may go to school, have friends, other things, and the children that come into juvenile court don't have those connections in a natural way. And so CASA helps develop them, and whether they get returned to their parents, those connections have been expanded and they're healthier because of it, or if they're not in place in some other permanent plan, they have those connections. And so it really is, it gives the gift to me as the judge to know kind of the voice of the community, not just the legalese that everybody's saying, but it also then gives the child the ability to have a connection different than what they've been involved in, because often, based on their lives they've had and because of the level, they've been isolated in a number of ways. And so it is, and it really does, they say one significant adult can make a difference in a child's life, and it's absolutely true. You see it all of the time. And while, it's a one-year commitment, there's CASA, well, I don't think they're even volunteers anymore. They've stopped being volunteers, but they'll still come to court for their CASA kid who is still involved, and they're sometimes the only one that the youth calls when they're in trouble. And maybe you don't want to sign up for all of that, but in those stages it makes a huge difference. And so it sounds like a kind of a weird thing to jump into, but if you really do have some time to spare, it totally changes lives.
Any other comments or questions?
This year our club is very involved with Bayside Community Hall and helping to refurbish that. And it makes me wonder a little bit whether we can have a closer relationship with CASA and maybe even have some kind of a project where not necessarily individuals volunteering, where we're hoping to refurbish part of the facility, something like that. So just a thought that I know you have a lot of support in this club.
Thanks, Art. Anyone else?
What was the date of the walk again?
October 3rd.
Is that Thursday?
So it must be a different date.
That's what I just saw. Maybe I'm looking at it.
Fifth is Saturday.
Yeah, it must be the 5th.
It must not, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I have our
Probably the 5th.
flyers for it, but then this morning I was getting them out of my car and I see that they're from 2 years ago, so that must be where the 3rd is coming from. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Really important you come and share your experience, help us get a visual of what it's like to be in your shoes. For time presenting, I'd like to offer you, you made a donation on your behalf to the Wheelchair Foundation.
Pot is at $110 today.
They don't even need to read off, it's mine.
First one is 7194. Oh, that's me.
So reach into the white bag. Who decided that would be good? It could be, that'd be a little bit. Spears is really good. Orbs. Use words.
All right.
Exactly.
All right, 7161.
Ooh, missed it by one.
Oh, that's mine. Gotta get it down, see. Yeah.
I did wait, this wasn't the one.
That wasn't the one.
Earlier.
The Katie.
Let's see.
Thanks again for a great Friday. With a final quote here, the function of freedom is to free someone else. Toni Morrison. Thanks again.